Please be seated, ladies and gentlemen.
Honorables Mesdames et Messieurs les ministres,
Honorable Ministers,
la vice-présidente de la Commission de l'Union africaine, Madame Monique,
Dr. Monique Tanza Bagonna, distinguished commissioners of the African Union, distinguished members of the panel of eminent Africans, Your Excellencies, honorable ambassadors, dear audience and televiewers on the various television channels on the continent. All of you who are actually following this debate on the various platforms, my name is, I come from the Algerian National Television, and it's really an honor for me to be moderating the Majadala Africa, and we are actually going live from the African Union Commission headquarters here in Addis Ababa in the Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, with, of course, the potential candidate vying for the chairmanship of the Commission. Ladies and gentlemen, I will be moderating in French, and I am pleased to say that I'll be sharing this platform with my dear sister from Ghana, Anita Eskin. Good evening, Anita.
Gentlemen, honorable ministers, Deputy Chairperson of the African Union Commission, Her Excellency Monique Nzabaganwa, African Union Commissioners, members of the panel of eminent Africans, excellencies, ambassadors, and our esteemed audience both here in person and live across all 55 member states of the African Union. We have immense pleasure to come to you live from the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, Addis Ababa specifically, where we are here from the African Union headquarters, bringing you what we call a historic moment. 3 esteemed candidates, each vying for the position of chairperson of the African Union, will debate tonight in front of the world, and indeed historic it is.
Mesdames et Messieurs,
ladies and gentlemen, during the Manjadala debate, it is going to last 2 hours, and we're going to be live, and we are going to introduce the various candidates for the post of chairmanship, and then we are going to discuss several burning issues on the African continent, and they will be answering several questions that have actually been prepared by an independent panel, so that at the end of the day, you Africans will get to know what the vision of these 3 candidates are for this continent. We want to see this continent taken forward, and so for each candidate, we're going to have 5 minutes. 5 minutes that will be respected by each of the 3 candidates. And so, first of all, the candidates would have 5 minutes each to present themselves, introduce themselves, and give us their vision statement for the African Union Commission. And they will tell us how they expect us to see the African Union carry out or meet their aspirations. And later on, we will take up the questions in this debate. 4 minutes will be given to each candidate to address all the questions. And at the end, each candidate will have 2 candidates for their closing statements.
Africa Leadership Debate will see our 3 esteemed candidates before you, basically sharing their ideas and their ambitions as far as the aspirations of Agenda 2063, the Africa we want, are concerned. And ladies and gentlemen, the rules are very simple. Each one of our candidates will have an opportunity to present themselves, of course, and their ambition as well, and they will make these presentations for all of 5 minutes each. Afterwards, we go into the first round of questions, second, third, and fourth round of questions. Each candidate has 4 minutes to answer the questions in each of these rounds. And now, ladies and gentlemen, at the end, we have a 2-minute closing remark from each one of our candidates. Now that you understand why you're here and the rules have been set before you, also to mention that the questions you will be hearing tonight, the questions our esteemed candidates will be receiving, are questions created by a completely independent panel in order to promote peace, fairness and transparency among us all. Ladies and gentlemen, with that established, allow me to welcome to the stage Ambassador Konjit, who is the chair of the African Union's panel of eminent Africans and the host of our gathering here tonight, to share the significance of the election process of the African Union. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ambassador Konjit.
Mesdames et messieurs,
ladies and gentlemen, we are now very pleased to call on Her Excellency Ambassador Konjit Sine Georges. She is going to give us her opening remarks.
Excellencies, candidates for the post of chairmanship of the African Commission, Excellencies, ambassadors, fellow Africans, ladies and gentlemen. Heartfelt greetings to our live audience here at the African Union Commission in Addis Ababa and all African citizens watching this debate. On behalf of the panel of eminent Africans, it is an honor and a pleasure to welcome you all to the 2024 Mujadala Africa Leadership Debate. Tonight's event represents a critical milestone in our collective journey towards achieving the Africa we want under Agenda 2063. I must say, now more than ever before, we need a united Africa and an effective AU Commission. The world we live in is at a crossroads with many complex situations. This continent of ours has gone through numerous challenges in its history. Its people have paid huge sacrifice to be where we are today. The trajectory of going out of colonial legacy to move to the Africa we want stands as testimony. We understand that our dreams and aspirations will not take us anywhere unless we come together. I had the immense pleasure as a young cadet of having seen the birth of the organization, the OAU, the Organization of African Unity, and followed its transformation to the African Union. I have seen their highs and lows. But one thing is for sure, if the African Union had not existed, we would have had to invent it. We have a long way to go to reach the Africa we want by 2063. The African Union Commission, our only vehicle to take us to our destination, has to be strong and fit for the purpose. We have to face together our current and future challenges, narrow inequalities, build more just and inclusive societies, resolve conflicts, in short, provide to our citizens what they are expecting. It has become more and more clear that the African Union has a rightful place on the global stage. It has become a partner that can't be easily pushed aside. We are claiming our place where decisions are made regarding our continent. Africa is coming out of age. This evening, the three candidates to the post of the chairpersonship of the African Union Commission are going to participate in a debate. I regret that the fact that our continent couldn't also have a female candidate and place the African Union Commission on the right side of history. This is a serious homework we have to take into consideration. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I have the greatest honor and privilege to thank the general public for participating and for their interest in this process by sending questions. I would also like them to know that the concerns expressed by the public are taken care of in the questions. And now, ladies and gentlemen and excellencies, I have the duty and the honor to hand over to the moderators the questions sealed envelope. Thank you very much for your attention.
Merci infiniment.
Thank you very much, Excellency Conjit Senior Judges. Dear participants, what we're going to see here, what Madam Kanji Senior Judges is going to do now, is to actually give to us an envelope that contains all the questions that we are going to ask. That is, either Anita or me will be asking the potential candidates who are vying for the position of the chairperson of the African Union Commission. Thank you very much, Your Excellency.
Ladies and gentlemen, as Fatima has outlined, Her Excellency the Ambassador has handed over the questions that have been curated by an independent panel. As we mentioned, there will be 4 rounds, and here in my hand we have 4 envelopes sealed, and these envelopes will only be opened at the forefront of each one of the rounds.
Merci infiniment, Anita.
Thank you very much, Anita. Ladies and gentlemen, at the moment, we are going to introduce the various candidates vying for the position of Chairperson of the African Union Commission. His Excellency محمودعلييوسف, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Djibouti. Your Excellency, His Excellency Mr. Raila Odinga, former Prime Minister of Kenya, and the third candidate would be His Excellency Richard James, the former Foreign Minister of Madagascar.
It is with pride and honor that we invite our 3 esteemed candidates to now take their position on the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the honor of welcoming His Excellency Mahmoud-Ali-Yusuf, Foreign Affairs Minister, Djibouti. Also joining us will be His Excellency Raila Amolo Odinga, former Prime Minister, Kenya. And we have His Excellency Richard J. Randiamandrato, who is from Madagascar. Ladies and gentlemen, with humility, I ask that you give them another round of applause. These are our candidates for the chairperson position of the African Union.
Messieurs, bonsoir. Merci d'être parmi nous.
Good evening, honorable gentlemen. You're welcome to this event, and you're all live on this debate. Millions of Africans are watching the Njandala debate. And like we said earlier on, each of you would have 5 minutes to introduce yourself. So we are going to start with you, His Excellency Mahmoud-Ali-Yusuf of Djibouti. Honorable Raila Odinga, Honorable Richard James, Deputy Chairperson of the African Union Commission, Ladies and gentlemen, African citizens, good evening. My name is Mahmoudعلييوسف. I am 59 years old. I'm married with 8 children. Minister of Foreign Affairs of Djibouti for the past 20 years. And I am standing before you this evening to give you a brief presentation of my vision for Africa's future. Africa is at a crossroads of its evolution. Of course, it is actually lagging behind other continents in terms of peace and security, integration, and socio-economic development. But Africa is moving forward. Africa is getting itself organized, and Africa is doing its level best to be on the international stage. The Africa that we want, an integrated, peaceful, and prosperous one, is first the choice of our people before the choice of its leaders. The founding fathers of the OAU in 1963 and to our leaders today who actually established the African Union more than 20 years, all the way down to the average citizen, we are trying to consolidate our diversity and to cement the unity of the continent. As we adopted Agenda 2063, and also the five plans, the African Union actually has a roadmap to achieve its goals. And the African Union is supposed to coordinate and also to implement the decisions of the policy organs. And if I am elected as chairperson of the Commission, I am going to make sure that we work together, and we actually have to go beyond the 37% of the work that we have done so far. In terms of peace and security and early warnings, through the continental early warning system, we are going to strengthen the Peace and Security Council, which has to be more proactive, and the member states will also have to be responsible. The panel of the wilds would be given the means to work to continue its mediation work, and I will do my level best to make sure that resources are mobilized to make the African standby force operational, and we can also use the African Peace Fund. And with the relevant bodies, I am going to continue or to carry out the reforms which have not been implemented today. And I'm going to diversify our financing, and I will do my best to make sure that African Union has its own financing sources. And I'm also going to boost intra-African trade, which should go beyond 80%. And I will bring down all the non-tariff barriers and facilitate the free movement of goods and persons across the continent. The place of Africa on the international stage will be one of my greatest priorities. And I'm going to be the voice of the African people across the world. The transformation of our continent will be done with our youth and our women, of course, and the diaspora too, through knowledge, technology, in agriculture, in industry, and in the service sector. The Africa that we want, ladies and gentlemen, is an Africa of peace, integration, and prosperity. And this has to go through the political will and the solidarity of the African people. And thanks to the support of our people. And so as I stand in front of you today, and in front of all the millions of Africa, I want to tell you that if I'm given the chance of being the chairperson of this commission, I will do my best to make sure that our continent shines on the international stage. I thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency Mahmoudعلييوسف. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to invite His Excellency Raila Odinga to share his opening remarks. Your Excellency, you have 5 minutes.
Your Excellency Ambassador Konjic,
صاحبة السعادة السفيرة كونجيت الزميلية هنا صاحب المعالي محمودعلييوسف
and His Excellency Mr. Richard, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, Africa. Africa Hamjambo, bonsoir, salam alaikum, rahmatullah ta'ala wa barakatuh. Boa noite. I am delighted to have opportunity today to stand before you as the son of Africa. I was born in Kenya, but I'm told that my grandparents came from the Sudan. I am a father of 4, a grandfather of 5, and a husband of 1 that I know of. I am an engineer by profession, and I have been an academic. I have also been a public servant. I've been a member of parliament. I've also been a prime minister and also leader of opposition. In those capacities, I've tried to do my best, and I've gained a lot of experience in terms of management of public affairs. I stand here as an Pan-Africanist and an Afro-optimist. 2 months ago, that is on the 21st of October, this year we were here in Addis Ababa. We had been invited as members of the families of the founding fathers of the African Union to come and witness the reopening of the Africa Hall. That's the hall where the OAU was launched in 1963. And we're happy to be here with Madam Ambassador Konjit, who was there as a young girl at that time. It is now 61 years since the launch of the Organization of African Unity. And at that time, if you read the speeches of the founding fathers on that day, they were very passionate, and all of them talked about African unity. Where there was a difference was, when do we achieve this unity? There are those who, under the school of thought, that the unity now. There are those who said, no, we need to be gradual in this. Let us first build the building blocks, the regional unions, which will eventually translate into formation of the African Union as a whole. But now we have come up, they came up 50 years later with Vision 2063, which now hopes to get Africa united, one union government by 2030, and move on to attain the vision, the wishes of the founding fathers of Africa. I say that I have the experience. I've been part of this movement for changing the continent. We know that some achievements have been made. Africa is now completely liberated, but there's still work to do. And I believe that I have what it takes to get us where we want to do. In the field of education, in the field of health, in the field of value addition to the abundant wealth that we have on the continent, in the field of trade, inter-African trade. I have acted as the African Union High Representative on Infrastructure. And in this I know that we have very comprehensive programs in PIDA, Program for Infrastructure Development of the Continent. What remains is action. And what I want to promise the African people is that I am going to lead from the front to ensure that we achieve the visions of the founding fathers of our continent. I thank you.
Merci infiniment.
Thank you very much, the candidate of Kenya. Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. Now we're going to listen to His Excellency Randra Mandrato from Madagascar.
Excellences et chers invités,
Excellencies, distinguished guests, to this very important event for the African people. As you can see, we are 3 candidates, not 2 candidates, like you see on social media. And we are standing in front of you today to convince you of how serious we are and how seriously we're going to work towards the African Union involvement. So who am I? I am one out of 1.2 billion Africans. Just like you, I started from very humble beginnings, from the very beginning. I was a young consultant. I was a researcher in microfinance sector, and I traveled across many African capitals, about 41 countries in the year 1989. Just like you, it was difficult for me to find a job, but I did find a job which was at the level of my capacity. Just like you, I actually built my career based on my conviction that each African citizen can actually survive. And just like you, today I am standing before you because I believe that I have the confidence and the trust of the President of Madagascar, and I am proud. I am proud that I was actually supported by my country. Just like you, I've actually come a long way, and I have actually gotten to this level where I have the trust of my government. I was Minister of the Economy in my country because that is my specialty. I was also Minister of Foreign Affairs, and I'm here today standing before you to talk about Africa. Africa is actually the second dynamic economic region in the world, and is actually making progress, and things are changing in our favor. And recently I read about the funding of the African Development Bank, funding several projects in Africa, and this is quite promising for the continent. The World Bank also has increased its envelope, funding 75 countries, 75 less developed countries. And I also think that we have funding for small states. Small states, that's not a pejorative term, but there is an idea that I want to share with you. Africa is moving. Is first of all the states that are actually seeing a 3.4% economic growth per year, but I think we should do more than that. And then we have our own house. Here we are, the African Union, which is our home. And what I have noticed is that there is an Africa which is actually moving forward, which is a dynamic Africa, and then there is the African Union, which doesn't really have the capacity for it to move forward. I am here before you today because I think it is indispensable and it is a must that those who want to have the quality, competence, conviction, of course, today, I think that I have those qualities, and I hope that I've been able to convince you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency Richard Randyamandreto from Madagascar.